Giving all praise, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, RACHAK, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and a sincere shalom to the icon that's out there pushing the sincerity and the truth and the sound doctrine. This is going to be a really sort of a quick video on this. Everybody's kind of doing videos on this guy now. It's called Chud the Builder or whatever. I guess that's what he calls himself. They say he goes by another name, but I can't remember. A lot of these streamers I've never heard of before controversial topics happen. All right. But yeah, this guy apparently he's well known for, going around calling so-called black people the N-word, the nigger word and all that other, crazy stuff, and us as Hebrew Israelites, knowing how these devils are and knowing their true nature, really all he's showing is his true nature. He goes around saying, tell asking black people, I got freedom of speech, right? Got freedom of speech. So you got no problem. I got no problem calling you a nigger, right? I ain't got no problem doing that, right? And, us, like I said, us, I mean, if you even feel like dealing with it, it's like, well, don't get mad when I call you a honky, mayo, and all kinds of shit, man. Don't get mad about that. But, first thing we would number one tell this guy is that no, there's no such thing as freedom of speech. That's why we get our videos flagged for calling you all kinds of crackers and saying that you devils are the ones that put us in slavery, right? Saying that you devils have to get paid back for what you did. But I'm gonna be real with y'all, man. I'll be real with y'all. I'd rather this devil, say it to my face, saying that, hey man, you just a straight nigga, man, straight to my face. I'd rather that than what the top Jews are doing right now, right? Stealing our heritage, right? And saying that they're us and hiding, behind GMO foods, hiding behind Christianity that teaches us all, to love all, and love this and love that. And meanwhile, you're constantly dismantling us. So now we get all bent out of shape when an Edomite, a low-level Edomite like this, right? Everybody, as he calls it, chimping out. I guess everybody chimps out, when, they get called the N-word. But we're out here telling you people, you jakes out there, you so-called black, Latino, and Native Americans out there, we're telling you, don't be surprised when it happens. This is what we tell you, man. And this is what this is why we're called hate groups. Because we're telling you, them pieces of shit are not your friends, man. Right? And they really get ready to start showing themselves. What's happening is Edom is mad. He's going around, like I said, trying to express freedom of speech. If these devils really had some kind of power, which I guess they somewhat do, they have more power than we do. But if these devils were, comfortable and had some kind of real power, they wouldn't have to do that. They would just do what they was doing back then. Don't even run around saying, yeah, you're a nigga, right? I can sit up there and call you this, right? Because I got freedom of speech. That shows you that the society is falling. Because years ago, man, they wouldn't even waste their time with words on us, man, right? But now the society's falling, and now they're getting mad at Jake. But what the hell you so mad at Jake for? We ain't the ones that make the laws. We ain't the ones that make this shit. It's your daddy's. It's your daddy. He the one that makes them laws for you Edomites, man. Don't get mad at us. But what's happening is y'all two-time losers. Y'all two-time losers, right? This is because you gotta remember, he got arrested years ago. That wouldn't even happen at all, Anyway, and I'm talking about years ago. I'm talking about like back in the day. I'm talking about before I was born. I'm talking about back in the day when that racism was like out there. Something that elders can sit up there and tell you. You know what I mean? But anyway, this is Sirach chapter 12, and I'm gonna start at verse 8. This is in the NLT version, and you notice it looks a little different. Than a KJV. It says, when things are going well, it is hard to tell who your real friends are, right? But in hard times, you can recognize your enemies, right? And I brought that point out before I get to the main point in verse 10, because Right now, our people are in, Christianity, and, things seem to be going well. So it seems a little hard to believe that an Edomite is really your enemy after they gave you gave you a job, they give you a paycheck, and things is going well for you, man. You probably got a wife, a half decent wife, you know what I mean? You probably got some children, you probably got a nice car, nice house, you know what I mean? Which, Jake, brothers, some brothers do too. Got a nice decent house and stuff like that. Difference between that and us, we know who our enemies are. We just making it work. That's all. You know what I mean? But when you going through, good times, and like the show, you going through good times, and things is looking, pretty decent for you, and it's kind of hard to tell who your friends are, man. And I get this is talked about kind of like in a whole different situation, like let's say you got a friend group, but when you understand the language of the Bible, you understand, okay, yeah, these scriptures go manifold. So that's why I brought this point out. So it's kind of hard to tell, who your enemies are, if you're going through, easy times, especially if you don't really have a problem with Edomites or anything like that. But you more so got a problem with Jake. Obviously, you're going to, because Jake is just grimy. It's about so-called black people, man. He's just grimy naturally. This is what it is. But they the curses. But you're not going to immediately know who your enemies are if you're going, you say you're going to church every Sunday. Like I said, you might even have a decent job. You know what I mean? You might have some decent Edomites there. You know what I mean? We ain't going around telling you to curse out every Edomite and saying that, but you might have some decent Edomites there. Yeah, that can really cloud your judgment. Versus, it said but in hard times you can recognize your enemies. I'm gonna tell you, when you awaken, to this thing, in the spirit of the Lord, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, right? You automatically oppressed, man. You automatically feel oppressed. You know what I mean? When your eyes is open and you look around, you don't even have to leave your house that day. You just look around on the internet. You know what I mean? Look at the state of the men. Look at the state of the women. Look at the state of you. You know what I mean? Look, the living conditions, the food that we eat and stuff like that. I mean, naturally, you're going to say like, oh my goodness, this is hell. When you're awakened, you are automatically just like going through hard times every single day. Now, I'm not talking about, what a dark cloud hovering over your head when you just got your head down and you dragging every damn day or something like that. No, I ain't talking about that, right? Right. But anyway, let's go on down to verse 10. It says, never trust an enemy. His wickedness is as destructive as rust, right? So Esau Edom, all right, Esau Edom, was born, to be wicked, and the Lord created him to be that way, from the very beginning. What happened? See, Esau Edom has always been a damn scumbag, man. Because what did he do? He sold his birthright for a morsel of meat like a damn scumbag, right? So he was never right from the jump. He never was, and he never will be. All right. So any Edomite, and this is what we always say, man. Any Edomite is in the right spirit, and you know what? We would tell him that to his face. We was like, man, you know what? You in the right spirit, right? The only people that's not really in that right spirit in that situation is the Jake that's being called the N-word, because that Jake would be like, well, okay, well, you a cracker, you a snow, you know what I mean? You may, what they say, mayo, right? You a damn devil, all right? You a honky, right? See, our spirit don't resonate with any other nation. And it's the same thing with these other nations. This is why they just don't say it because of society, right? Nobody says it because of society. Nobody resonates with each other, except the 12 tribes of Israel, and except like even Ammon and Moab don't even really resonate with each other, right? The Chinese or the Japanese will sit up, or even Koreans will sit up there and call a damn Chinaman a damn chink, All them slurs, they got that shit too, right? Because these nations don't mix, right? You have pigeons, and then you have vultures. They don't mix. This is why they stay in their own group, right? The pigeons and the vultures really don't. They're both birds, sure. You can say that. Yeah, they're both birds, but they don't mix. The domestic house cat and the tiger, they're not going to, hell, even a lion and a tiger, they don't mix. They both cats, and they both big cats, but they don't mix. They all, like I said, they're both. So us and Edomites, we're all humans. And that's what everybody likes saying. Yeah, we're all humans. Yeah, we are. What the hell that mean? We're both different. This is why certain nations, even certain nations, can eat certain things that we can't. And you could easily say, well, it's because of where we're from, and you know, our bodies ain't, you know. You could say that. But either way, because you have people of that in that same region that are kind of like, you know what I mean? Our bodies are different. We're made differently. All right. Everything about every nation is different. Nobody on planet Earth is the same. And then even that racist Edomite sat up there and said, well we're all the same. We're all equal. And it's just like, no, you piece of garbage. You just put your foot in your mouth, man. What do you mean we're all equal? You run around calling people the N-word and talk about we all equal. So if we're all equal, go around and call Edomites, the so-called white people, the N-word. If we're all equal, but you ain't doing that. Because we're not. And I tell you, man, that devil ain't gonna stand a chance against Hebrew Israelites, man. You know, all them gun threats and all that other crazy shit. You know what I mean? All that, you know, all that dumb stuff. You know, we ain't afraid of your gun threats. You know what I mean? We ain't gonna sit up there and be stupid, but we ain't afraid of your gun threats. You know what I mean? We don't go for that stuff. You know what I mean? But this is a Proverbs chapter 16 verse 4. It says, but we'll like I said, we'll give him a spiritual slice of dice session, man. All right. Proverbs chapter 16 verse 4. It says, the Lord have made all things for himself. It says, yeah, even the wicked for the day of evil. So let's get this word profane, because Esau is a profane person, right? And like I said, it's better. I say it's profane. I can never remember the way the scripture is. It's profane as Esau, right? There we go. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 16. It says, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. Right. Let me get this in another translation. You know, curious to see what it says in the NLT. Okay, well, you see how they change certain things in the NLT and in the NIV. I wonder if it's even in this one. Nope. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just get the whole chapter and see what it says. You know, this comes from the tampering of things and stuff like that. Let me know what it says, since it's not popping up. Yeah. Okay, well, it's probably, you know what, it's probably because of how I worded it. That's probably what it is. Yeah, so, yeah. NIV, it says, see that no one is sexually immoral or is godless like Esau. Wow. So this scripture literally labeled Esau as the most ungodly person on the planet. So even more ungodly than those filthy Africans, more ungodly than those demonic ass Arabs, right? Because and it makes sense, because at least the Africans, they stick with their gods and their cultures. You know, the Arabs, at least they stick with their gods and their cultures. Esau, he like, for example, there are certain areas in Africa And this is why them Africans got mad at IUIC and chased them out, because IUIC are Esau's disciples. And there are a lot of places on the earth, there are a lot of countries on the earth that don't go for Esau's antics. All right. So for example, certain places in Africa, they believe, hey, they don't believe that word polygamy even exists, because it's just natural for a man to just have more than one wife. You know what I mean? So they don't even believe that word polygamy even exists, because it's just like, well, this is natural. You know what I mean? IUIC goes over there and they push that one wife thing, right? They are literally Esau's disciples. And then, so what Esau Edom does is he infiltrates and he pollutes and he indoctrinates, right? No other nation really does that, if you really think about it. An Arab is not going to sit up there and force whatever religion that they worship on you, right? They just don't want nothing to do with you. And honestly, I respect that. They just don't want nothing to do with you. What Esau would do is and it says sexually immoral. I don't have to go into that, but we all know what all you gotta do is look at Hollywood, and you get your answer there. Look at slavery and you get your answers there. But I'm not even gonna go into that part. Esau, what this devil does, like I said, he infiltrates. He does all kinds of sexual immoral acts to the men and women, boys and girls, right? And then he indoctrinates, and then from there, what happens. You get how Jake is now. So Jake running around here crying about this Chud, the builder, or whatever his name is, crying that he's calling them all kinds of N-words. Well, they supposed to. And like I said, it's good that a devil is coming out like that. Instead of that whole, hiding behind these damn laws and antics and stuff like that, man. These damn games, man. I'd rather Edomite do that. Right? So anyway, that's pretty much all I got on this. This video went on a little longer than I thought. Right? Yeah. This Edomite here is in the right spirit, man. This Edomite here, he's in the right spirit. And there's going to be many, many, many more like him, right? But guess what? Jake is getting ready to stop with the games and talk about, yeah, man, I can't believe he called me this, and I can't believe he called me that. Jake is getting ready to stop that. Jake is getting ready to rise up against these Edomites, right? Because we're eventually no more going to be it really, like I said, it really started with us, because we already know these Edomites are the furthest from our friends, and we the furthest from friends away from them too. So when one of them Arabs mug us up and down, what I'm saying, even in everyday life or whatever, like say you go to the store, you run into an Arab that's just mugging you. I expect that. You know what I mean? I expect that. Just don't put your hands on me. But I expect that, because I am not your friend. You are not my friend. I don't like you. You don't like me. We want to keep it like that, because in the future, through the spirit of the Lord Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, all you devils, man, Edomites, Arabs, Moab, Ammon, and everybody else, man, y'all all going to follow under the order of the 12 tribes of the nations of Israel. Each and every last one of y'all, through the spirit and power of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, that is a promise. And that's exactly why you Edomites and you other heathen nations are getting mad. You're getting angry. This is why Vocab and friends, they got the hardest erection ever for the Hebrew Israelites, man. They cannot let up. And guess what? We ain't letting up off them either, man. Right? So,
naturally. The Lord created the wicked for the day of evil. Esau's supposed to be wicked. Guess what? 2/3 Jake is supposed to be wicked. This is why we don't really get all bent out of shape when this stuff happens. All right. So anyway, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Shalom.